The GallowgateShots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the North East's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube and podcast channel. We are back with another match preview. This week we draw our attention towards the Brighton away game. I'm Scott, I'm your host for this one, and this week I'm joined by Matty, Andy and Daryl. Boys, how are we feeling going into this one? Brighton's a bit of a bogey team, especially at the Amex. Matty, you're not looking too confident, mate. How are you feeling?
I don't
Unsurprisingly.
I'm not playing up the gimmick. And we'll get into it. We'll dissect it. And we'll understand the reasons why we're not very confident. Look, we talked before the Ipswich game about how well we've been doing. This is an amazing season. Doesn't matter which way you look at it, unless you're a freak through some really negative sunglasses. We've won a cup. Unbelievable. Just absolutely still can't believe it. But it's almost like you forget that we still had this extra step that we could definitely go this season. And what an absolute carrot to chase this season to win a cup and get Champions League football. It's in our hands. It's amazing. The fact it's in our hands with 4 games to go, testament to the coaching staff, like I always say, testament to Eddie Howe, testament to the players. But you look at our fixtures and the sort of, as a Newcastle fan, you look outside of the Newcastle sphere, there's articles being written, supercomputers are doing their maths, and people are saying Newcastle have an 80% chance of qualifying for the Champions League. In what effing world, mate, are you talking about there? Because, look, I still think, great, we've got it in our hands, and that's, I have to have a little bit of confidence going with those sort of statistics and the fact that, we're third in the league with 4 games to go. But, you've got Forest with a game in hand on Thursday. You've got the fact that we've got to play Chelsea, who we have a great record against at Newcastle. But at the same time, our squad is bare thin. We're going to miss a colossus figure in the midfield, which we'll get onto. We're going to Brighton next, who in the Premier League era we've never beat away from home. Obviously, we had a brilliant time in the Championship with a goal that will stand the test of time in Modiame's screamer. But it's just
award, wasn't it?
Sorry.
It won a Puskás Award, that goal, didn't it?
It did win. It won 6. It won 6 Puskás Awards. It was that good in 1 year. It was unbelievable. They actually tried to rename the
retired
family took Diame Award because they tried to rename it the Diame Award. You look, we've just not had much luck there, and with a bare thin squad, obviously. But look, I was going to say this at the end of the podcast, but it's a season of firsts, or a season of things that haven't happened in a long time. We've won a bloody trophy. We've done the double over Man United. I don't care what iteration of Man United it is. We've done the double over Man United. We've had, we've broke records in terms of, different statistical things. And Alexander Isak is breaking his own records as well. So, of course, I don't want to write them off already. We don't want to start off too negatively. But if we don't get a result this weekend and things go against us, all of a sudden it's not in our hands and it starts getting a bit worrying. But look, we'll get on to why we think this, but there is trepidation, there is negativity, but it doesn't mean that it's game over and I'm writing the fixture off already. So please, before you have a go at me in the comments for either A, my stupid accent, or B, my negativity, I promise I have to talk like this because it's my voice, and B, I have some optimism coming for this fixture coming up. So yes. Anyway, thanks for starting with me, Scott.
Cheers, everybody. See you all next week.
I thought you had actually ended it there.
That was good though. Keep that in. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No, we will get onto it. It is actually the Sunday, the 4th of May, 2 p.m. kickoff at the Amex. Is it the Amex Arena, the Amex Stadium? Whatever it's called. It's sponsored by American Express. Hopefully we'll get some naming rights on our stadium. Hopefully not. How do you feel about it? Who knows? It's on Sky for everyone who can't get down there, who didn't get an away ticket. Brighton, 9th in the league on 51 points. That's 13 wins, 12 draws and 9 defeats. They are 56 goals scored and 55 conceded. That puts them on a +1 goal difference. And there's a commentator stat about that one coming up. And I'll jump straight into those right now before we get started. Although Matty has already.
It isn't Sunday, Scott.
It isn't Sunday. Well, the game's on Sunday, so maybe
Nice.
they'll call you Matthew throughout the whole thing.
Nice.
They won't.
It.
It's going to be one of them, isn't it? I'll get you started. Stats. Newcastle are winless in all 7 of their away Premier League games against Brighton, with 4 draws and 3 defeats. The joint most they have visited any opponent in the competition without ever winning. Also 7 against Watford and Wimbledon. Also the outright most that Brighton have faced a side without losing at home in the Premier League. So stats on in our favour for that one. Following their 1-0 win in October, Brighton could complete their 3rd league double over Newcastle. The others were in 1978-79 and 2020 and 21. Brighton are one of 2 sides in the Premier League this season who have both scored and conceded 55 plus goals alongside Spurs. Since losing 1-0 to Everton in January, each of their last 11 matches have seen at least 3 goals scored, with 45 goals in total. That's 4.1 goals per game. And Newcastle have won 19 Premier League matches this season and are looking to win 20 for the first time since 2002 to 2003 under Sir Bobby Robson, where we won 21. Eddie Howe would also become the first English manager since Frank Lampard with Chelsea back in 2019 to 2020 to win 20 Premier League games in a single season. So there we go, boys. Andy, mate, you've just wolfed down your tea. Get the indigestion out the way.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about Brighton. You've listened to 10 minutes of Brighton podcast. It's going to be conceding a lot of goals, though. That seems to be the trend at the minute. They're scoring a lot, they're conceding a lot. I looked at a few of their recent results, and it seems to be a lot of 2-2s, 3-2s, a lot of goals scored, a lot of goals conceded. So, although we're going into this with a bit of trepidation about, the history, they can't be get at this team. They do seem to be, although, we've got to be on our A game defensively, we can also, if we're on our A game offensively, get at them.
Yeah, definitely. They're definitely an unpredictable side this year. I did only manage to catch a little bit of the podcast because, yes, I was thinking this was half an hour later than it was. But for 8 of the 10 minutes, they were talking about how nervous they are about Crystal Palace winning a cup and how funny it was to beat Graham Potter at the weekend. So I didn't get much real insight from them. They were just very emotional. But they couldn't believe that they'd actually won a game of football against West Ham. Since knocking us out the FA Cup, they've just been a mad team, just conceding so many goals. And none of them could really put the finger on why. No one's really turning on the manager yet, because obviously Brighton historically do hire good managers, and I think they're quite a patient fan base given sort of where they've come from. But just to sort of add to what you said about Brighton, I seem to remember the year we got promoted with them, we then didn't beat them ever in the Premier League until the Champions League season. So we've just got this abysmal record against them. But I mean, yeah, they beat us in the FA Cup, and then they managed to beat Fulham in the league. But then they've played Man City, Forest, Villa, Palace, Leicester, Brentford. Didn't win any of those games, conceded 2+ goals in those games. And the West Ham game's probably a bit of a misnomer because West Ham are terrible. And they still only managed to win the game with 2 late goals, one of them being an absolute worldie goal from a centre half. So we've kind of got it's the sort of worldie scoring centre half derby this weekend. But it's interesting with Brighton because they obviously always have these amazing young players who just immediately get poached, and it must be the most infuriating club to support. And I was just looking at their side that they put out against West Ham, and they've got that Ayari, who's 21-year-old, who is probably just going to get a big move immediately. They've got Baliba, centre half, who's 21-year-old, is going to probably get moved on again. They've obviously signed Minter from us. They've got Matoma, who's still young, and then they randomly still just have like Solly March and Milner. It's like the most strange squad, but it just feels like they're always going to be stuck where they are because they just never are able to have like those 21-year-olds play with them for a consistent period of time. And then the ones who do leave don't do anything anyway. Like you look at like Caicedo and even Potter as manager, they must be annoyed that they all bugger off and then don't do anything anyway. I guess McAllister's probably a bit of an outlier, but in general, yes, they score lots of goals, they concede lots of goals. It's exactly the sort of team I don't want to be playing at this point of the season. I just want nice, easy, comfortable non-heart rate raising games until the end of the season. But yeah, we've got to be on our A game. We've got to look out for those flair players. I do think Matoma and Minter will both start, because the lads on that podcast were saying that they came on as subs against West Ham and very much trying to bed them in for this big push for the end of the season. They might get Europe, they might not. They're just a completely unpredictable beast.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we do have to be careful with, Daryl, is that, Brighton, it's not like they don't have anything to play for. They are going for that Europa Conference spot that, given we're looking like we're at least going to finish top 6 as a bare minimum, our spot is up for grabs, that we already have, because it'll go down to the, 7th or 8th position in the league, because there's already a spot in the league as well. So, we're going to do them a favour if they can get in the positions by finishing in 6th, and that sounds awful, but it will get handed down. But also for them, Andy was saying about the subs in Minter and Matoma and that sort of stuff coming on. They do have a player suspended, quite a big player, and a player that was linked with us a couple of seasons ago in João Pedro. He's still out with these sending off. Was it against West Ham he got sent off? I think it was. Or was it the game before? I can't quite remember now, but it was a 2-game ban he received, so he's out as well. So they have some players unavailable. I think they also had about 7 injuries when I was looking on the list, and they're quite recent. So they'll be looking to do some changing as well, because I think they maybe don't have everybody available that they'd maybe want for this game too.
Yeah, I mean, their squad is born out of having, it's sort of like an endless production line of young talent. So, Andy's mentioned a couple of names there, and obviously one's Minty, like the coach from us. And they've always, certainly in the past, they've always seemed to have, because they're all stats driven, their model is stats driven, and everybody can fit in in the team when required. So we shouldn't really see much change to how Brighton play. And it'll be interesting to see how we cope with that. And I'm fully in the camp with Matty about how we struggle down there, and I'm really not looking forward to this game. I mean, I was down there, was it last season or the season before, when we had the 3-0 battering? And that was horrible to see. Yeah, the Evan Ferguson hat-trick, and it was very, very unpleasant to watch. Haven't made the trip all the way down there for that. But, this is a Newcastle United team that have won 21 of their last 27 games. So we're doing something right, aren't we? And to be honest, I think there's no draws in that time as well. So maybe this is the time. I don't want to spoil my prediction, but maybe this might be the time where we get that draw.
Oh,
do you know when our last draw was?
What, in
a long time ago?
This season
in the Premier League, yeah. It's a long time ago.
Liverpool.
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah.
3-3. So that was the 4th of December. We haven't drawn a game since then. It's mad.
That's a long time. Yeah. So, Matty, mate, if you think about the Brighton side and think about the players that they have, obviously there's a big question mark for our side. And you mentioned it a little bit in your opening monologue, and I'm using the right word this week. I'm not saying eulogy. It's been, I don't want to say exposed, it's been revealed today that Joe Linton's potential, well, it's not potential, he's missing the rest of the season. And we all know how important that midfield 3 has been for us this season. Who fills that spot? You've got 3 options, realistically, in Willock, Miley, and Sean Longstaff. Who is it that takes that spot? And is it a case of it's game by game, and depending on who the opponent is will depend on who fills that spot? Because it's all about the type of opponent that you come up with will depend on the type of player you need in that spot. Or is it going to be a single selection and it's them regardless of who we play?
Well, again, there's loads of different trains of thought you can take with this. I think Eddie Howe, when it comes to the fans and what we would pick, we always know that there's probably a chance that Eddie Howe's going to pick not the opposite, but what Eddie Howe is going to do. It's the reason how he's been successful. He has, but there's also been it's been a reason to sort of stick to beat him with in certain games where we go, he's got to start so and so, and then he doesn't, and then maybe we might get beaten again. Like I said, stick to beat him with, but 8 times, 7 times out of 10, he gets it right. No, because of the situation that we're in. But I mean, personally, I think a lot of us would probably say Lewis Miley's the person who we would say to fill that gap. Now we saw on Saturday that it wasn't. It was Joe Willock, and you could maybe sort of think that maybe it's because we were going to be a front foot team. We were going to be a team that needs to break down a stern Ipswich side who have conceded goals this season, but we're going to have a lot more of the ball. So you want that extra attacking sort of dynamic to the team. I think going into the Brighton game, I'm not saying it'd be more negative because I thought Lewis Miley, when he came on against Ipswich, he's just really tidy with his feet. He's a good passer with the ball. He's a strong boy. He's only, 20 years old now, but he's put a lot of size on. He was already 6'2", 6'3", whatever he is, if not taller. And that physical presence in midfield is what you want to replace a Joe Linton with. Look, Joe Linton's Joe Linton. There is no other Joe Linton shaped peg, for a better word, to slot into that midfield. But I would like to think that Lewis Miley is probably the guy to do it. But I don't think Sean Longstaff's in the question. I think if later in the game we'll hold on to a lead, maybe he'll bring Sean Longstaff on. And Sean Longstaff, what his future holds is probably a different conversation altogether. But Joe Linton, to replace him, I'll go Lewis Miley. But we saw on Saturday Joe Willock. I think maybe Eddie Howe has that trust in him. He's been an Eddie Howe player in his teams. He might get the breakaways. He might get these patterns of play these fabled patterns of play that we hear about that Eddie Howe has driven into these players. So perhaps he will still go with Willock. For me, I would choose Miley, but I am not a Premier League football manager, and if I was one, I wouldn't be as good as Eddie Howe, even if I tried. So, I think it'll be Willock, but I would probably like it to be Miley for the reasons I mentioned about the physicality and the fact that he is still really tidy with his feet.
And just to note to anyone listening or watching that we are doing this way before Eddie Howe's press conference. The news that we've had is from the press. It could all be BS, and he could turn around on Friday in his presser and go, "What are you talking about? He's starting, or he's been training all week." I doubt it, but that's not the Eddie Howe way.
I very much doubt it.
Very much doubt he's going to go BS. That's not how he does it. But Andy, I suppose another big question is, with Jason Tyndall suspended for this one, is it going to be Eddie Howe in the dugout? Because let's be honest, he was there at the weekend, just gone, but looked like he probably shouldn't have been there at the weekend. It did look like maybe it's a weekend too soon, or 2 weekends too soon, if we're being honest.
I didn't believe him at all in his press conference before the previous game, where he said, "I'm 100% there mentally, definitely there 100% mentally." I think he was just thinking about his bed and a lemsip, to be honest, for most of that. I think he said that he couldn't really project his voice. He had to stay sat down more than normal. Obviously, Tyndall does a lot of that legwork for him normally, so it'll be interesting to see who the designated shouter / shithouser is for this one. Presumably, Jones will have to do that.
Yeah,
he's got history at Brighton. Graham Jones, 2 seasons ago, Eddie Howe was in the stands with Amanda. Oh my God, remember that?
It was then, wasn't it?
3 seasons ago. 3 seasons ago. 2.5 seasons ago. Whatever, maths.
Yeah.
But 1-0 down. Isaac Hayden equalises. I always remember Callum Wilson going in on goal and getting brought down, and for some reason the referee didn't give a red card, but then he did. Graham Jones, valuable point. That was Graham Jones. So, he might be on to draw symmetry with 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, maths, 2.5 seasons ago. It's gonna, it might be. Is that a thing? Is it a thing? Probably not. But that's the thing.
It's tenuous. We'll take it.
It's definitely something.
Graham Jones sideline at Amex Stadium happened recently. Who knows?
Well, I just think we got a prediction straight away. Then after that, it's been decided.
1-1, Isaac Hayden.
Who needs reference?
Well, I think Isaac Hayden's technically on our book still, isn't he? So he probably could.
That's Isaac Hayden's music. It's going to be running
exactly.
WrestleMania style. It's going to be awesome.
Well, we need a centre midfielder.
It's all happening, baby.
It's all falling into position. It's all happening. The stars were aligned.
Illuminati, as the kids would say.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yes. I still don't really know why Tyndall got a yellow card, by the way. Was it because he was in the technical area at the same time?
I've had
to enforce that rule that you're not supposed to have 2 coaches stood up at the same time.
I think I've heard that there was even a point where, like, I was definitely wasn't listening to other podcasts other than GallowgateShots. Definitely not. No, the Newcastle podcast. There isn't any. But if I was, they were saying that a few Newcastle officials were like speaking to the referee, saying like, "Why did you do that?" Like, and apparently it was purely because of this stupid rule of 2 in the technical area, which never gets enforced anywhere. But if there was one game you were going to give a little bit of leeway, like Eddie Howe was literally walking up to Jason Tyndall every 5 minutes and saying, "Will you please shout that for me before I pass out?" Like, it's like, come on, guys. Like, I mean, and look, we don't want to go back on Saturday and review that match because that referee and the 2 linesmen had a bit of a nightmare anyway. But I mean, I think
But on that same podcast that I didn't listen to either, they also said, "Why didn't Eddie Howe get a yellow card? Why was it Tyndall?"
It should have been him. It should, because he's the one.
It's just because it's Tyndall. They're like, he's obviously the prick. Let's fuck him.
Yeah, you're spot on. Absolutely.
It's daft.
Yeah, those people who we don't listen to are definitely spot on. Love you, really. Love them, really. But whatever.
Plop on the wine.
Plop. Love you, Taylor. Love you, George. Love you, Chris.
Daryl, mate, there's a couple of other little questions about our squad. Obviously, we have the return of Sven Botman. He made a feature appearance at the end of the last game. Brighton have a bit of pace about them, and obviously we know Botman's not the fastest, but if we want to get a bit more minutes in his legs, this could be one of the games to get it in before.
In his bionic legs.
It's brand new knees. He's like a pensioner with you. But is this the time to do it? To get a bit of more minutes in those legs and get a bit more game time under his belt. Maybe give him 60 minutes in a game like this, or is this not one of those games where you risk that because it is more important and you think, well, maybe it's the Arsenal game that's coming up is the time to maybe give him minutes where, you're not as expected to get a result because of where Arsenal are in the league. But then again, we have a better history against Arsenal. Who knows? But what would you do? Like, do you play Sven in the games, or do you rest him, bring him on later on in the games? How would you approach it?
I think definitely the latter, and much like we saw against Ipswich, is the one for bringing him in a game towards the end just to reintroduce him gently back into the fold. Who knows, we might even be in a position where we are comfortable enough to do it and bring him on a little bit earlier. But we just have to bring him back up to fitness for the end of the season and then give him a full run at pre-season before we really go at it hard next year.
Cool. Yeah, take him to Shanghai. Let him play over there. Singapore. That's Singapore, not Shanghai, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. We're going to Singapore. God, I tell you, it's one of them. Obviously,
because you started too early. Should have been half an hour later.
Early. Half an hour, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Sorry, I've eaten your tea for you, Andy. That's what it is. Anyway, obviously there is one more question on the start 11, and it's probably been that question throughout the season as well, and that's on the left-hand side of midfield, and it's Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon. Barnes has been starting pretty much consistently of late, and Anthony Gordon's been coming on. Does it stay that way? Do you give Gordon his chance now? Has Barnes done anything wrong to lose that position, or is it still Barnes ahead of Gordon?
I'm going to defer to Dasmore because I can't answer it. It's too hard.
Yeah,
I know it's the only point we can discuss on the team, but like I don't know. We've all said the same thing, haven't we? It's like Barnes hasn't done anything to lose his place, but Gordon's mint. So I don't know if you agree.
I agree. It's exactly the same. I mean, Gordon came on last week and had a couple of really good opportunities to score, but Harvey's played himself into that position as a starter because of the form that he's been on as well. I think if Gordon can come off the bench and grab a goal, then it might swing the pendulum and he might start starting the games. But until then, I think you've got to stick with Harvey because of the way he can play. And, it's a nice headache to have. It's back to that old scenario where it's nice to have both options available at the same time.
Yeah, if I was to add my 5 pence worth, I think it's going to be Harvey Barnes. For me, that's what there is talk about how Gordon's still not definitely 100% yet. He's still got this bruising of the hip. There's apparently a little problem with his knee as well. So we will see. I'd be surprised to see Gordon start. Again, in a sort of a negative sort of few days, or negative just today, the fact that Joe Linton's injured, it is still always a very nice problem to have. The fact that you can have 2 left wingers who are one in such great form, one of which has done so much for us in the last season and a half, 2 seasons. And he did look bright when he came on against Ipswich. But I still think, given this is going to be a very hard game, you stick with the person who has got you a few goals over the last few games. And again, you add in the fact that Gordon's just coming back from injury. I think you will see Harvey Barnes on the left. I honestly think, that it's going to be a case of just one change in midfield again. Well, if not, no changes if Willock stays there. So we could be unchanged. Yeah, I think max one change on Saturday.
I do think if Barnes plays, I would rather see Miley than Willock, purely because I just think Barnes is seemingly one of those players he needs a bit more interplay around him, whereas Gordon can sort of do something on his own. I think Willock sometimes can go. I mean, it is a criticism of him, but I mean, we all love Willock, but he just doesn't really get involved in games so much these days. He seems to find a way of just avoiding the ball, and I think with Barnes on that side, I think he will struggle if it's Willock. Whereas I think Miley, certainly if we're on the counter attack, he's that player he's got that sharpness to pick up the ball, play a pass to him. So I am slightly concerned about that, but I trust Eddie, and if we see Willock back to his best, them two on the break together would be absolutely unbelievable if they're both top of the game. But remains to be seen.
Yes,
it does. It does. Well, we will see, and it is on Sunday, so we will definitely see when it happens. Unless something happens
would we not see if it was on a different game, a different day?
If it was on a Monday, we might not see it. But
before we see, we need to find out who's the referee and who's the VAR. And by God, they can't do a much worse job than they did last weekend.
It better not be the same guy.
Giving my segment a bad name. These referees who lose games, lose control of games in the first 20 minutes.
All season, to be fair, they've been pretty ropey. So put us out of misery. To put it on.
Well,
who is the man in the middle this week?
Seasoned Newcastle fans may not like the name I'm about to mention here, and I think I certainly, when I was sent the information by my mate Paul on this, it came with the green being sick emoji. Before that preceded the information that was about to come my way, and the referee for this one, one's going to be our good old mate Craig Pawson from South Yorkshire. It's his 4th game of the season. That's after the 1-0 win against Southampton on opening day, where he sent off Fabian Schär, the 0-0 draw down at Goodison Park against Everton, and then also the home defeat to West Ham. He's also previously been on VAR for games against Brentford, which was a 2-1 win at home. And actually, this is where it gets slightly better, because he was also VAR for the Palace game, where he just battered them recently 5-0. His stats for the season, he's done 20 Premier League games in the middle, 93 yellow cards, 3 reds, and he's awarded 4 penalties, including the one at Everton. VAR for this one, and you know what it is? I didn't think I'd get to this point in the season and still be talking about firsts. Well, it's Andy Madley from West Yorkshire. It's his first NUFC VAR appointment of the season, and he's previously refereed. Well, there's plenty of Yorkshire whistlers, isn't there? Right. Depends which part of Yorkshire you want to be from. And he's previously refereed the 3-3 draw against Liverpool that we mentioned earlier, the 2-1 away win at Spurs, and sadly the 4-0 defeat away at Man City.
Well, there we have it. There's the ref, there's the VAR.
So it should be better than last time.
It should be better than last time. But
you say that now, but
emoji, there we go.
They're all bad.
They're all bad. They've been honking this season. We'll let cancel ref watch next year, just as a I don't know.
We'll bring it back just for the Champions League games, like we originally did.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's turn our attentions to our predictions. Who wants to go first? Should I spin a wheel? Should I just pick at random? Seen some grimaces faces.
Hang on. I've got to get this
Andy,
right here.
You can go first. For this one.
Well, our record at
Brighton, like you did for the last question I gave you.
No, I'm not going to bottle this one.
Yeah, I just
spoke so much before the Ipswich game that I'll just share the floor this time. No, obviously our record is abysmal, and I am a bit worried about this game. I think this may be our first draw in 5 million games. I think this will be a Desmond. I think both teams to score. I think it will be like a winning draw, in that we will come back to draw the game. And I think that will be a positive result in the situation we're in. I can't believe we're back into third. I thought it feels weird that every time all these teams win and we win, it feels like their win was bigger, even though you get the same amount of points. Like, it's really odd. I mean,
we've got more points, Andy. We've got.
Well, yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
But like fighting for a league title must be the most painful thing in the world, because like even this, what we're doing now, you drop like a single point and it's like the world's going to end. Like imagine what it was like for like Liverpool and Man City when they were both on like 98 points at the end of the season.
And not to derail the predictions either here, but like, isn't it strange to, in a good way, to we know what that's like, but it's normally at the bottom end of the table. Like, you know what I mean? Over the last decade, it was a case of, oh shit, Wigan's won, or someone, Swansea have won.
Sunderland's won.
Yeah, Sunderland, Villa, Villa, ironically, you know. You know, we had someone kicking off.
It's nice not having that thing on the Chronicle every year when you having to put your predictions in of who wins, who losses, and then you press the button at the end and you go, "Where are we in the league?" And you click through and you go,
"Oh, we got relegated." Yeah, like it's a really nice. It's I would call it nice, but for the pit in my stomach, like, it's so strange that, like, you know, you forget that it's not a case of falling off the face of the earth. It's trying to do something amazing. And don't get me wrong, we had it a couple of seasons ago, and it was great then, and it is kind of great now. It's just there's so many. It's the fact there's that fifth place, and the fact that there's six teams, you know, trying to who aren't going to win the league. I mean, obviously Arsenal are there, and we'd like to think City. So I guess it's us, Villa, Chelsea, and Forest vying for two places, and it's horrible, but it's you have to say it's kind of nice.
It feels different to the last Champions League season as well, in that I obviously am bothered about playing in the Champions League, but I'm more bothered about just making sure we keep all our players. I feel like I'm more interested about keeping Isak and Tonali and Bruno than I am about actually playing in the Champions League. I don't know if I'm alone in that, but it just feels like that's more important.
The players, it's about the players we could potentially bring in.
That as well,
I would say that I'm in Scott's camp there.
PSR is not an issue this year. Us being in the Champions League, for me, I don't know if I'm just getting carried away, but I just think the caliber of player we could potentially bring in just by being in the Champions League with no PSR restraints this season or this summer, because it's a start of a new cycle. I'm just thinking, hello. Like,
I
it unlocks a lot of doors for her.
Yeah.
And if we do lose one player, like, I'm not saying we all, but if we did, like, that would be even greater on who we bring in. And I don't want to lose anybody, but it opens up even bigger doors for her, like, because of the money that allows her to spend. It's a horrible catch-22 situation, but it happens.
Yeah. We get twice as many games this time.
It's derailed from the predictions.
Sorry, 2-2.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll do my prediction now. One thing I will sort of predicate it with is I had read an article saying that, you know, apparently we're going to be very struggling to meet the UEFA rules. Doesn't matter what competition we're in.
Very struggling.
It's a financial penalty that you'll incur. So and apparently Villa as well have struggled with it this season. So I don't know the ins and outs of it. Like I said, it knocks you sick that the game's played half of it on spreadsheets these days. But we will see what happens. And I'm totally in Scott's camp in terms of, you know, it's more what we could do if we finish in the top 5 this season. Fingers crossed we do. We've got it in us to do it. But in terms of prediction, I wanted to say what Andy said. I said what Andy said for the Villa game, and we got beat 4-1. So I feel like, you know, I shouldn't say what Andy said because we might get beat 4-1. So
we're not getting beat 4-1.
I'm going to go really surprising 2-0 win.
Get it?
Like, kind of like, Joey, we all text each other.
What were we worried about?
What were we worried about, lads?
Yeah.
What were we worried about? What was the crime we started to sleep about?
I'll take that.
2-0. It's just a hunch. It's just a nice little prediction to throw out there. Of course, I'm still very, very worried and very, very sort of have a lot of trepidation about this fixture. But let's just throw that out there and just be like, oh, bloody, not even what we were thinking about there. So yeah. Anyway, Dasmo, I'm going to throw it over to you now. Scott, I'm taking your job here. Dasmo, over to you.
On it away.
Hi, why not? Well, I don't know where to start. I mean, I was feeling in my head that maybe 80 kg 1-1, but then I started thinking about who we could target in that Brighton team. Lewis Dunk, I think, is somebody we should be targeting. Much like teams will come and target Dan Burn off Abbey and Shea for a lack of pace or whatever, Lewis Dunk is who we need to be targeting. I'd like to see Isaac get a hold of him and run him around the pitch, give him a guided tour of that end of whatever end of the Amex we're playing against at that point in time.
Might get a red card if he doesn't.
And I think, well, there is that as well. After last week's wrestling match in the box between Burn and Delap, but yeah, I mean, I've just got KG on one of my head and I can't get it out. And I think it's going to be an Isaac goal and probably a late equaliser for them, and it'll be somebody off the bench like a Matoma, probably.
Be bloody Welbeck again, man. Sick of the sight of him.
Just
retire. Just retire and stop scoring against only us and no one else. Yeah.
I feel like I need to do it.
What's the crack?
Sorry, he's waiting for Matty to bring in the next person because he's obviously the host now.
Yeah. No, I think this has been seven away games without a win down there. I think we're a different side, even from the FA Cup. I think that FA Cup draw earlier this season, we didn't really have a heart in that because we had the Carabao Cup game was in and around that. I can't remember exactly if it was before or after, but
they weren't great. We were pretty bad.
That was our play there, and they nicked it at the end, if I remember rightly, and it was a 1-1 draw, and they won it like
extra time.
Yeah,
we thought we nicked it at the end. It was offside. Yeah,
if I remember rightly, even the game at St James's Park was a bit of a shit show as well.
It was one of those games where and it's the reason that we're scared of teams like Brighton, Bournemouth. Well, Bournemouth and Fulham done us, but like. It was one of those games where we looked the better side, but just didn't do anything and then they just one chance goal. Yeah, another chance goal.
The West Ham home game was the same. That West Ham home game played out exactly the same way as Brighton did.
Yeah.
Well, I think we put right those wrongs, if I'm being honest with you. And I think we go down there and I think we make a name for ourselves and we get rid of this horrible, just this horrible start of 7 games without a win down there, and we get the Brighton name away from Watford and Wimbledon of the 7 teams that are the 3 teams that we've lost 7 games at that ground. So I think we'll do a 3-0 win. I think Brighton are conceding a lot of goals. I think we are a lot better at the back than we have been earlier on in the season, especially. And yeah, I think we keep a clean sheet. I want to go for Tonali to open the goal scoring quite early on. And then I think it'll be a little while before we get another one. I think they will maybe shut up shop and try and catch us on the break. But yeah, I think then later on in the second half, we'll get an Isak brace and that'll just bring it home with 3 points. 3-0. And do you know what that'll make? That'll make the champions coming through for everybody. I forgot I had that. Right. Yeah, I think we'll do 3-0. So
if we do 3-0, I will find a way, Scott. I will find a way to send you a kiss from Newcastle to
over the Sam Fender gig. You can find me around that time.
Well, you will. You get a kiss, little kiss on the forehead.
I'll trim my mustache and beard especially for you.
Oh, we're not doing mouth kiss. Come on. Got a wife. Come on.
What's the point? This is getting way out of hand now, lads. However,
very much out of hand.
It's going to start necking on.
Yeah. Brighton fans, if you are watching this, let us know how your season's going. Are you aiming for? Of course, you're aiming for European football, but is that your goal now? Is that what you want and hope it is? Because I do like Brighton. I must admit, like. You've got a good footballing side. You've got a good footballing mentality of a club. You do it well. Like we said earlier, though, you need to keep hold of your players. That is the one thing that I would say that you guys really need to do, because I think from a PSR standpoint, you're absolutely smashing it. Like, there's no reason why you can't build your squad now. Like, you don't need to be selling these players from
if they need a banner for balance sheet champions, I think we know a set of fans that have got one of them that we can give, can't we?
I think so. I think absolutely so. But let me know in the comments below. How do you think this game's going to go? Our predictions wildly out of what you think it's going to happen. But let me know. Your recent results. How are they going? What do you think of the manager? Let me know. Newcastle fans, obviously, as always, you are more than welcome in the comments. Let us know how you think our season's going. Let us know where you think we're going to finish in the league, and let us know what your predictions are. While these are all down there, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, hit the notification bell. You all know what that does. You've been watching it all season. I'm not going to go through it all again for you. And while these are all down there, subscribe, like, thumbs up, and become a member. It's $2.99 a month. Early access to videos, exclusive access to content, all that good stuff. Matty,
what?
Lead us out with a nice ending monologue, mate.
I don't have a monologue. I do wonder if Brighton would have Dan Ashworth back though. That would be that would be a nice prodigal son returns, wouldn't it?
The circle of life.
I don't have a monologue. I have a question, and we don't have to spend too much time on this. You won't get my answer, but if you had to do a scale of 1 to 10, and Dasmo, I'm going to start with you. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being it's not happening, mate. Sorry, and 10 being like already happened, mate. What you're on about? Are we qualifying for the Champions League this season?
8. Yes, absolutely.
Andrew.
7.9.
Oh, I didn't allow decimal places, but
okay, 7.
Okay, and Scott, please.
The champions.
Good night, everybody.
What is your answer?
I would probably say 8. Yeah, 8, 9. I think the Forest Chelsea game on the last game of the season is the big decider for us. If Forest can do over Chelsea, I think we've already done it by then, but that will be, if not, that's the decider for it. I know you only wanted a number, but I'm ranting on it. But
I think we'll do it.
That's the decider for it. If we haven't done it by then, which I think we will, that's the one. But I also think Forest,
I'll add in there.
Earlier games, the 2 games they've got coming up aren't as big of a given as everyone thinks they are. Brentford and Fulham, they've got they're tough games. Yeah. I know it's Forest, and I know they're flying high, but they are very tough games for those two for Forest. Let's see what happens.
I'll add in, lads, and the title's sorted, relegation's sorted. It's the race for Champions League. That's all that's left now. And everybody will be watching it, and it's going to be really exciting. And hopefully, I've just said they're 8, and we'll be fine. But again, it's the last thing that's left to decide, and it's probably going to go all the way to the wire, as we've just said there with that game between Forest and Chelsea on the final day. And isn't it nice to be involved at the right end of the table?
It is class.
It's class.
It's a race for all the European places. It's not just Champions League. Obviously, we're in the Champions League side, but look at Brighton. They're fighting for the Europa Conference or even the Europa League. I don't know if they can get 6th or 7th. Maybe it's the can. I've not looked at that side of it, but
I think they need Villa to lose a lot.
I think anyone from like 10th or even 12th to like 7th can finish in the conference side of things. The way the league is this.
Forget about that, Scott. Who cares about them? One thing I will say before we go, Liverpool, hey, I know, great title, class. Well done, you. Like, honestly, well done.
No one saw it coming.
But do not. What a fairy tale story. But
breaking news, everyone, Liverpool won the league.
How about you cement that, get some points on the board. Chelsea, Stamford Bridge.
Yeah.
Remember, they stopped you from winning titles before. They've stopped you from winning titles before. Go there.
Don't slip up.
Kick them in the head. Kick them in the teeth. Go on. Put it to them. Show them that you're the boss. Go on, Liverpool. Go on. Do it for the avenge the Carabao Cup final. Go for it. Chelsea, do them, please. Please, God, please do it. That's my finishing monologue.
And on that note,
I'm going to end it there. That's enough. Let's see you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Bye, everybody. Bye.